First chapter, 6th class, for political science. Understanding diversity. Three children around your age have drawn the figures above. Use the empty box to draw your human figure. Is this drawing similar to any one of these? The chances are that your drawing is quite different from the others. Three, which you can see are quite different from each other. This is because each one of us has a unique drawing style. We not only do not like exactly like each other, but also differ in terms of language we speak, our culture, backgrounds, the religious rituals we absorb, and of course, the way we draw. Hmm. Now ask your teacher to help you. Check. How many of you similar answer? Is there anyone whose list match you exactly? Probably not, but many of you have similar answer. How many like reading the same kind of books? How many different languages are spoken by the student in your class? By now, you must have recognized the many ways in which you are quite like some of your classmates, and other ways in which you are different from them. First of all, making friends. Do you think it would be easy for you to make friends with someone who was very different from you? Read the following story and think about this. I had meant it a joke made up of a small, raised boy who sold newspaper at the Janpat crossing at the busy intersection. Every time I cycled past, he would run and after me, holding out the newspaper and screaming out the evening headlines in the mixture of Hindi and English words. This time I stopped by the pavement and asked for the Hindi papers. His mouth fell open. You mean you know Hindi? He asked. Of course, I said, as I paid for the paper. Why? What do you think? He paused. But you look so Angrez, he said. You mean you can even read Hindi? Of course I can, I said this time a little impassionately. I can speak, read, and write Hindi. Hindi is one of the subjects I study in school. Subjects? He asked. How could I explain what a subject was to someone who had never been to school? Well, it is something, I began, but the lights changed, and the honking behind me grew a hundredfold, and I let myself be pushed along with the rest of the traffic. The next day, he was there again, smiling at me and holding out a Hindi paper. भैया, he said, आपका अखबार, आप बताएं ये सब्जेक्ट क्या चीज है? The English word sounded strange on his tongue. It sounded like its other meaning in English, to be ruled by someone else. Oh, it's just something to study, I said. And then, because the red light had come on, I asked him, have you ever been to school? Never, he answered. And he added proudly, I began working when I was so high. He measured himself against my cycle seat. First, my mother used to come with me, but I can't do it all alone. Where is your mother now? I asked, but then the lights changed and I was off. I heard him yell from somewhere behind me. She is in merit with the rest was drawn out. My name is Samir, he said the next day. And very shyly he asked, what's your? It was incredible. My bicycle whooped. My name is Samir too. I said, what? His eyes lit up. Yes, I grinned at him. It's another name for human's father. You know how? No, you are Samir Ek and I'm Samir Do. He said triumphantly. Something like that, I answered, and then I held out of my hand. Hath milao, Samir Do. His hand nestled in mine like a little bird, and I could still feel its warmth as I cycled away. The next day, he didn't have his usual smile for me. There is trouble in Meerut. He said many people are being killed there in riots. I looked at the headlines. Communal rights. It's blaze, but Samir. I began, I am as Muslim Samir. He said in answer, and all of my people are in Meerut. His eyes filled with tears, and when I touched his shoulder, he would not look up. He was not at the crossing the day after, neither the day after nor ever again, and no newspaper in English or Hindi can tell me where my Samir Do has gone. Well, Samir Ek is more familiar with English. Samir Do speak Hindi, although they both are more at home in different language, but they still communicated with each other. They made the effort to do so because this was important to them. Samir Ek and Samir Do also come from different religious and cultural backgrounds. Well, Samir Ek is a Hindu, Samir Do is a Muslim. Different religious and cultural backgrounds, such as these are aspects of diversity. In addition to their diverse religious and cultural backgrounds, there are other ways in which Samir Ek and Samir Do are different from each other. For example, well, Samir A goes to school. Samir though sells newspaper. Samir though did not have the opportunity to attend school. Perhaps you have noticed that there are several people in the area where are you live who are poor and who don't have enough to eat or wear and sometimes not even a place to live. This difference is not the same as one of we have seen earlier. Here we are talking not of difference but of inequality. Inequality comes about when a person does not have the resource and opportunities that are available to other persons. The caste system is another example of inequality. According to this, society was divided into different groups depending upon the work that people do, and they were supposed to remain in these groups. So, if your parents were potters, you could only become a potter, nothing else. This system was considered irreversible, and because you were not supposed to change your profession, it was not considered necessary for you to know anything more than what you needed in your profession. This created a situation of inequality. You will read more about this and other inequalities in the following chapters. What does diversity add to our lives? Just like Samir Ek and Samir Do becomes friends, you might have friends who are very different from you. You have probably eaten different kinds of food in their homes, celebrated different festivals with them, tried all the clothes they wear, and learned some of other languages as well. You probably like reading and hearing stories and adventures about different animals, people, and even ghosts. Perhaps you been enjoy making up stories yourself. Many young people feel happy when they read a good story because it gives them lots of idea to make up more stories. People who write stories get their ideas from all sorts of different places, from books and real life and from their imagination. Some may have lived in forests close to animals and chosen to write to of their fights and friendships. Others read real accounts of kings and queens and wrote stories about loves and honors. Some dipped into their own childhood memories of school and friends and wrote stories of adventures. Imagine if all the storytellers and writers that you have here and read so far were forced to live in a place where all the peoples were same two colors, red and white, at the same food, maybe potatoes, took care of the same two animals, for example, the deer and the cat, and the entertained themselves, played snacks and ladders. What kind of stories do you think they would write? Diversity in India. India is a country of many diversities. We speak different languages, have various types of food, celebrate different festivals, practices, different religious. But actually, if you think about it, we do not many things that are similar except what we do them in different ways. How do we explain diversity? A little more than 200 years ago, of long before the train, aeroplane, bus, or car became a part of our lives. People traveled from one part of the world to another in ships, on horse, on camels, or on foot. Often they went in search of new lands, of new places to settle in, or for people to trade with. And because it took so long to travel, once they got to place, people stayed there often for a long time. Many others left their homes because there were famines and droughts and they could not get enough to eat. Some went in search of work, while others left because there was a war. Sometimes, as they began to make their homes in new places, peoples began to change a little, and at other times, they managed to do things in the old ways. So their language, foods, music, religion became a mix of the old and the new. And out of this intermixing of cultures came something new or different. The history of many places shows us how many different cultures influences have helped to shape life and culture there. Thus, the region become very diverse because of their unique histories. Similarly, diversity also comes about when people adopt their lives to the geographical area in which they live. For example, living near the sea is quite different from living in a mountain area. Not only do people have different clothing and eating habits, but even the kinds of work they do are different. In cities, it is often too easy to forget how closely people's lives are tied to their physical surroundings. This is because in the city, people seldom grow their own vegetables and grains. Instead, they depend on the market to buy all the goods, foods, and other goods that they need. Let's try to understand what we mean. When we say the historical and geographical factors influence the diversity of a region, we can do this by reading about life in two different parts of the country, Kerala and Ladakh. Ladakh is a desert in the mountains in the eastern part of Jammu and Kashmir. Very little agriculture is possible here, since this region does not receive any rain and is covered in snow for a large part of the year. There are very few trees that can grow in the region. For drinking water, people depend on the melting snow during the summer months. People here keep sheep, and the sheep in this region are special because they produce pashmina wool. This wool is prized, and pashmina shawls cost a lot of money. The people in Ladakh carefully collect the wool of sheep and sell this to traders from Kashmir. Pashmina shawls are chiefly woven in Kashmir. The people eat meat and milk products like cheese, butter. Each family owns some goats, cows, and dajos, yak cows. Being a desert did not mean that Ladakh did not attract its share of traders. If it was considered a good trade route as it had many passes through which caravans traveled to what is today called Tibet. These caravans carried textile and spice, raw silk, and carpets. Buddhism reached Tibet via Ladakh. Ladakh is also called Little Tibet. Islam was introduced in this region more than 400 years ago, and there is a significant Muslim population here. Ladakh is a very rich oral tradition of songs and poems. Local version of the Tibetan national epic of the Kesar Saga are performed and sung by both Muslim and Buddhist. Kerala is a state in the southwest corner of India. It is surrounded by the sea on one side and hills on other. A number of spices like pepper, cloves, and cardamoms are grown on the hills. It is spice that made this region an attractive place for traders. Jewish and Arab traders were the first to come here. The apostle of Christ, Saint Thomas, is believed to have come here nearly 2000 years ago, and he is credited with bringing Christianity to India. Many Arab traders also came and settled down here. Ibn Battuta, who traveled here a little less than 700 years ago, wrote a travel log in which he described the lives of Muslims and says that they were highly respected community. The Portuguese discovered the sea route to India from Europe when Vasco da Gama landed with his ship here. Because of all these various historical influences, people in the Kerala practices different religions such as Judaism, Islam, Christianity, Hinduism, and Buddhism. The fishing nets used to here look like exactly like the Chinese fishing nets and are called China wala. Even the utensils used for frying is called the China chati, and it is believed that the word Chin could have come from China. The fertile land and climate are suited to growing rice, and majority of the people here eat rice, fish, and vegetables. Well, Kerala and Ladakh are quite different in terms of their geographical features. The history of both regions has been similar cultural influences. Both regions were influenced by Chinese and Arab traders. It was the geography of Kerala which allowed for the cultivation of spices and special geographical location of Ladakh and its wool that drew traders to these regions. Thus, history and geography are often tied in cultural life of a region. The influences of diverse culture is not merely a thing of the past. Our present lives are all about moving from place to place for work, and with each move, our culture, tradition, and way of life slowly become part of the new place that we are in. Similarly, in our own neighborhoods, we live close to people from several communities. Our daily lives are about the ways in which we do things together and hear stories about each other's lives and custom and traditions. Unity in diversity. India's diversity has always been recognized as source of its strength. When the British ruled India, women and men from different culture, religious, region backgrounds came together to oppose them. India's freedom movement has thousands of people of different backgrounds in it. They worked together to decide joint action. They went to jail together, and they found different ways to oppose the British. Interestingly, the British this thought they could divide Indians because they were so different and then continue to rule them. But the people showed how they could be different and yet be united in their battle against the British. The song was sung after the Jallianwala Bagh massacre in Amritsar, in which the British general opened fire in a large group of unarmed, peaceful people, killing many of the wounding even more. Men and women, Hindu, Sikh, and Muslim, rich and poor, had gathered to protest against the British. This song was composed and sung to honor the memory of those brave people. Songs and symbols that emerged during the freedom struggle serve as a constant reminder of our country's rich tradition of respect, of diversity. Do you know the story of the Indian flag? It was used as a symbol of protest against the British by people everywhere. In this book, Discovery of India, Jawaharlal Nehru says that India unity is not something imposed from the outside, but rather it was something deeper and within its fold. The wildest tolerance of belief and custom was practiced, and every variety acknowledged and even increased. It was Nehru who coined the phrase unity in diversity to describe the country.